Welcome back to another Genshin Impact recipe. Continuing the Fontaine arc, we're going to be looking at the item Garlic Baguette. A simple recipe, but if you read the description, it states that the citizens of Fontaine will grab a baguette on the way home for this dish, stating that you could just go buy a baguette and then add garlic butter at home. But that's no fun for a cooking channel, so I will attempt to be making a baguette from scratch for this recreation. I did do a lot of research for this recipe, so I will link the inspiration and recipes that I based mine off of in the description below. Another reminder that the written recipe is in the description as well, and subscribe for more Genshin Impact cooking. Let's begin. First, let's start with the dough. Combine flour and water together, then give it a good stir with a spoon until you can start working it together with your wet hands. Once a shaggy dough has formed, add salt and then cover the bowl with a lid. In a container, combine yeast with warm water and let that sit for about 15 minutes. Check to make sure the yeast has started to froth. If it doesn't, you probably have dead yeast and need to go get some new one. After the yeasty mixture is frothy, stir to fully combine and then pour into the dough. My dough here is a bit too wet because I added a bit too much water, but I adjusted the water measurements in the recipe below, so no worries. Now with a very wet hand, knead the dough until the yeast has been fully incorporated and you start to see a proper dough form. This took me about 3 to 4 minutes of continuous kneading. Reminder, my dough looks a bit wet, but I fixed it later on. Cover the bowl and let the dough rise for 1 hour. After 1 hour has passed, wet your fingers and do 4 pull and folds, as seen here. This is kneading the dough without touching it too much because it is such a sticky dough. Repeat the step for another 3 times, for a total of 4 times every 15 minutes. After the dough has been kneaded enough, flour a work surface and plop the dough out. Divide the dough in half. It should make 2 good-sized baguettes with this amount. After the dough has been divided, gently form into balls and cover to let the gluten relax for 10 minutes. While the dough is resting, lay down parchment paper onto a baking tray and spray with non-stick spray, and also preheat the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Back over to the dough workstation, spray the work surface and your hands with non-stick spray, and gently press out the air out of the dough and shape it into a rough rectangle. Fold the dough from the top over to the halfway point and gently pinch in the creases. Fold the dough from the top again towards the bottom and gently press down the creases. Then gently roll out the ends to create more of that iconic baguette shape. Place the baguettes onto the baking tray and let it rest one final time covered for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes has passed, spritz with warm water. This is going to help create a crispy crust while in the oven. Cut shallow cuts into the bread. This isn't just for aesthetics, this will also help trapped gas and air into the dough escape while baking. In the oven, place a tray pan of water under the rack where you plan to place the bread. This is going to create a steamy environment in the oven, which helps baguettes get that signature crispy texture. Place the bread in and bake for 5 minutes. Once the 5 minutes is up, open the oven and spray the bread some more and then continue baking for another 15 to 20 minutes. Once the baking is done, place the bread out to cool to room temperature, and that completes the hard part. Now if you're not down to make the baguette from scratch and bought some baguettes from a bakery, like I would typically do if I wasn't making a video, here is where the recipe begins for you. In a bowl, combine minced garlic, chopped parsley, and room temperature butter together. Optionally add salt here too if desired. Stir it with a spoon until you get delicious softened garlic butter. Cut the baguette in sections, but do not cut all the way through the bread. Leave just a little bit at the bottom. Spoon the garlic butter in between each of the sections. It is absolutely okay to have butter poking out as it will melt onto the bread and into the bread during the baking process. Cover the bread with aluminum foil and bake in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. Now with all the garlic butter melted through, you can fully cut through the bread or tear it apart with your hands. And that completes the Garlic Baguette from Genshin Impact. An absolute labor of love if making the bread from scratch, but otherwise a quick and easy recipe if you're buying the baguette pre-made. Regardless of how you decide to enjoy this dish, I hope y'all enjoyed, and please let me know if there are any other recipes from Genshin you'd like to see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.